insertion tube onto the body control section. If you are still unsure of the orientation, you can always look through the instrument if it is a fibroscope, looking down at your working area and placing an object in front of the bending section. Either looking through the fibroscope or plugging the instrument into the video processor, you can be certain that you're in the up position by placing an object the right side up in front of the distal end and looking on your monitor or through your fibroscope to be sure that when the scope is in up position with the up angulation, that you are correctly orientated for the angulation and image. Once you're certain that the correct orientation has been achieved, we can now tighten our insertion tube locking ring to our body control section by hand tightening locking ring using a special C tool wrench. Once ring is tight, apply a small amount of black RTV in front of your locking ring. We can now pull up our body control section, and this is as long as our cables, which is our angulation cables, are tight in proper working order. If cables need to be adjusted, please refer to the minor training videotape SPVTOMNR. As long as all our cables and everything are flush with our body section and our cables and angulations are correct, we can pull up our body cover. Carefully slide up and over O-ring. Pull up your body control locking ring and tighten with C tool wrench. Pull up secondary body control section, inserting O-ring into body section. Pull up second O-ring and fit snugly into second body control section. Using adult tweezers and a small amount of alcohol, apply alcohol underneath cone to easily slide cone up to meet body control section. Pull cone up and along insertion tube to meet body control section and hand screw back on to secondary body control section. Retain your biopsy forceps assembly and reinsert into body biopsy forceps control housing. Apply this piece in a 90-degree reference to the locking key opening, pushing down with thumb, also being sure that you are not kinking any wires or light guides or image bundles when applying this piece. Push down with thumb. Utilizing your tweezers, turn this ring again 90 degrees to meet the slot for your biopsy housing key ring. Retrieve your key and slide down using tweezers with the small hole facing the slot for the key. Retain your biopsy forceps port retaining ring and tighten on with your pair of tweezers or heavy-duty tweezers. Be certain that this is tight. You'll need to replace the bending rubber over the bending rubber section with a brand new bending rubber sheath. Please refer to Minor Training Videotape SPVTOMNR in order to replace the brand new bending rubber sheath on your bending section. After reapplication of your bending rubber sheath, you now need to test your biopsy forceps channel and be sure that it passes the biopsy forceps through clearly without any kinks. Please test with the proper biopsy forceps and making sure that it passes through the distal end cleanly and also with angulation. And finally, be sure to pressurize your endoscope to make sure that all the body covers and distal end assembly and biopsy forceps channel tube opening and port is holding pressure. Submerge the instrument in a sink full of water and check for any leaks. If there are any leaks in the body control sections or your biopsy forceps channel itself, it may have been punctured during reassembly or during reinsertion onto the tip of the distal end, so be sure that there are no leaks of air out of your instrument before use and sterilization. If during the procedure there is a complaint of poor light, the best way to check your light guide or illumination bundle is to hold the distal end of the endoscope up to a light bulb or fluorescent light fixture. And while holding, look on the proximal end of the endoscope and check the light which is emitted through the scope. If it is poor, it will need to be replaced. It should be a full round amount of light coming through your proximal end of your endoscope. If it is not, again it will need to be replaced. First step is to remove your body covers. Unscrew your cone and slide down to 80 centimeters on the insertion tube. Slide down the second body control section along with O-ring down to your cone at the 80 or 70 centimeter mark on the insertion tube. Using your C-tool wrench, unscrew the body control section, locking ring with your C-tool. And pull that down also to meet your body cones. Using some heavy-duty tweezers, unscrew your biopsy forceps channel locking ring. Remove ring and put in a safe place for reassembly. Remove your biopsy forceps locking key. Unscrew your biopsy forceps valve clockwise or counterclockwise 90 degrees so you are able to pull out forceps channel valve assembly. Carefully slide down body cover to insertion tube. We have now access to the internal body of this Olympus endoscope. Using a dull pair of tweezers and some alcohol, slide alcohol underneath cone of light guide tube. Unscrew light guide tube cone or boot. And slide down light guide tube approximately 12 inches. With your fingers and thumb, push up underneath body section assembly. With your thumb, push and pull down your side body control panel and pull down light guide tube. This gives us further access to this Olympus endoscope. Using your insertion tube C-tool wrench, unscrew the locking ring counterclockwise to loosen and remove locking ring. Loosen ring finger tight, but don't remove completely until we remove all the stainless steel screws from control body section. Using your Phillips head jeweler screwdriver, remove all screws from the black control section, including the 2 screws which hold in your biopsy forceps valve assembly. Fully remove locking ring from insertion tube to body control section. Very carefully slide off your black body control section piece over and down the insertion tube to meet your body cover. Being very careful not to pinch any of the wires, tubes, or light guide bundles, or image bundle, or CCD wire. We'll need to disattach our biopsy channel from our biopsy channel forceps assembly using a small pair of needle nose pliers. Unscrew 2 ferrules counterclockwise, making sure that you do not pinch or damage any of the tubes, coil pipes, or wires. carefully slide off biopsy channel and remove 2 locking ferrules. In order to remove damaged light guide bundles from the insertion tube, we'll need to completely remove the biopsy channel in order to be able to pull through our new light guide bundle. Otherwise it'll be too difficult and will damage your new light guide bundle if you do not remove your biopsy channel. Carefully turn over your instrument so we can work on the bending rubber sheath. You'll need to remove the bending rubber sheath in order to gain access to our biopsy channel and our illumination bundle. Carefully cut away each glue joint on the bending rubber sheath. Please refer to minor training tape for Olympus scopes, SP, VTO, M&R, for a complete procedure on removing bending rubber sheath. Again, remove both glue joints, both the distal end and proximal insertion tube fittings. Once the bending sheath is removed, we can now disattach our bending section from our distal end assembly by removing the 2 set screws which are on either side of the bending section. Be sure to retain the screws for reassembly. Once both screws are removed, carefully need to slide down the bending section from the distal end. Be careful not to pinch or cut any of the air-water channels, CCD or image guide bundle. Slide down bending section approximately 1 inch. Using a very sharp X-Acto blade knife, carefully remove biopsy channel as previously shown in biopsy channel replacement. Always be sure to locate your biopsy channel to make sure that you are, in fact, cutting away at the biopsy channel and not your light guide bundles at this time, or your other channels such as air, water, or CCD chip or image bundle. Once you have carefully cut out your biopsy forceps channel from your distal end pipe, we will need to remove the biopsy channel completely so we can pull in our new light guide bundles without causing damage to them. Carefully slide out the entire biopsy channel through the insertion tube. And remove completely. You will need to replace the biopsy channel with a brand new biopsy channel when we reassemble endoscope. Using a very small number 1 screwdriver, Unscrew the locking set screws which point into your light guide illumination bundles. Usually the set screw is at a 90-degree angle on the distal end assembly, pointing towards your light guide bundle. Unscrew set screw counterclockwise. Remove set screw completely from the hole. You may need to dig out the white KE445 from hole to remove screw completely. Again, be sure that this is the set screw for your illumination light guide bundles, not for your image bundle or CCD chip. It is easy to locate your light guide bundles by looking at the end of distal tip and matching tube which coincides with your light guide glass at the distal tip. Usually there are 2 illumination light guide bundles. Locate your second light guide by looking at distal tip and matching tube, finding your set screw, unscrew it counterclockwise and remove it from hole completely. Using a new sharp X-Acto blade knife, remove all the white glue which surrounds your damaged light guide bundle. Being careful not to cut into your image guide bundle or your CCD chip or your air water channels. Be sure to remove all glue from around your light guide illumination bundle post, otherwise it will be extremely difficult to remove light guide from the distal end. These are set at the factory and glued in very tightly in order to not be able to remove or replace them. It may be necessary to utilize a dental pick in order to remove remaining glue from behind your illumination light guide post. Take your time and be sure not to cut in to any other channels or your chip or your image guide bundle. Always be conscious of your other tubes and image bundle in this case in order not to apply any pressure or force or cut into the other tubes or image bundle. Remove glue from both light guide posts. Utilizing some dull tweezers and some acetone, apply acetone to the end of tweezers and apply acetone at the base of the distal end between your light guide bundle post in order to allow acetone to soak in to the distal end to hopefully free up your white glue from around your light guide post. Apply the acetone to each illumination light guide post and allow it to soak in to your distal end. You may need several applications in order to free up your white glue from around your light guide post. Once you have applied 2 to 3 applications of acetone in between your light guide bundle post and distal end, utilizing some very sharp diagonal cutters, very carefully grip your light guide bundle post, and using the sharp tips try to get a hold on your light guide illumination bundles, and using the back of your diagonal pliers apply force so we may be able to withdraw our light guides out of the distal end without causing any damage to the other tube's CCD chip or image bundle. This light guide is damaged, so you can apply some force to the post in order to pry it out, but not too much force where you will cut into any other important tube or wires. If the acetone's set and your pliers are carefully pulling, you should be able to remove the illumination light guide bundle from its distal end hole. In some extreme cases, it may be necessary to utilize a soldering iron tip. This will heat up your distal end in order to loosen the white glue from internally the distal end assembly. When using a soldering iron to heat your distal end assembly, it must be done in a very cautious and quick procedure. You will need to take your soldering iron tip, make sure that it is hot, apply the tip in the hole that you had removed your light guide bundle set screws. The tip will get hot, so be careful of your fingers as not to burn yourself. You will need to do this quickly. Once the tip has heated up with your soldering iron, you'll need to quickly remove your soldering iron and using your diagonal pliers pry out the illumination light guide bundles. You must use your soldering iron very quickly, because if the distal tip is heated up too long, it may cause damage to your objective lens system, which will cause image guide problems with either a CCD chip or image guide fiberscope bundle. Again, always try your acetone and your tweezers first to loosen up the glue around your light guide bundle in order to remove your light guide bundle post. Again, once glue is freed up, remove your second illumination guide bundle post from the distal end. We will now need to pull through our old damaged light guide bundles and replace with a new illumination light guide bundle pair. Utilizing some plastic tubing, which is just slightly larger than your illumination light guide bundles, you'll need to slide the tubing over the old damaged illumination guide bundles in order to pull through the tubing when we pull through the old damaged light guide illumination bundles. This is in order to allow the new light guide to be pulled through in the correct position in your distal end. Each of the tubes, wires, and channels must be in a particular spot within the insertion tube and the bending section. If the light guides are pulled through in the wrong orientation to your distal end, it will cause the channels and light guide tubes internally inside the bending section and the light guide tube to twist and bundle around, and this will cause serious damage to the channels and light guide bundles and image bundle if it is not placed in the correct position internally inside the bending section and the insertion tube. So we will need to pull through our plastic tubing when we pull through the old light guide bundles. Connect the tubing to both of the light guide illumination bundles. Be sure they are somewhat tight fitted onto the ends of the light guides so we can pull both of these through. Use a piece of tubing which is of course longer than your insertion tube so we can pull it completely through. It will need to be double the length of the insertion tube, our plastic tubing. Returning to our body control section, we will need to grab one of the damaged illumination light guide bundles, and we will need to pull through both the light guide and the plastic tubing through the insertion tube and out into the body. Be sure that you are grabbing your light guide bundles and not your image bundle if it is a fiberscope, or your CCD wire harness if it is a video scope. Again, be very careful that you are not grabbing your image guide, which you can follow by being sure the light guides are coming from out of the umbilical light guide tube. These are the two tubes that we will pull through the insertion tube and body section, and not the image bundle which runs from the eyepiece through the body down into the insertion tube. Again, be very sure you are pulling on the light guides. You'll be able to tell when you pull on one of the light guides, the tubing will start to move along with the light guide. Again, pull both illumination light guide bundles through the body and the insertion tube. Once the tube has reached the body section, you can remove the old light guide and put it to one side. This will allow us to pull through our new light guide tube back through the insertion tube down to the distal end. Repeat the same for the second light guide bundle, pulling down light guide bundle through insertion tube into body section. At the distal end, both our plastic tubes are now ready to pull through our new illumination light guide bundles through the bending section insertion tube from the body. Back to the body section, remove your damaged light guide bundles from the body section by pulling through the body control section. Pull your damaged light guides out and through. Now we will need to remove our light guides from our umbilical control section. We will need to unscrew our umbilical light guide tube from the body section. Stainless steel retaining screws from your umbilical light guide tube control body section fitting. Retain the screws for reassembly. Carefully pull out light guide tube from body control section. We will need to remove the suction tubing from your umbilical control section in order to be able to remove our illumination light guide bundles and replace with the new illumination light guide bundles. It is too tight inside this umbilical cord, so we must remove our suction channel. Pull out your wire harness if it is a video scope or a fiber scope. Be careful not to damage your image bundle if it is a fiber scope. Pull wires up and away. We will need to remove our retaining body bracket in order to gain access to our suction control pipe. There are 3 screws which hold in this control body section plate. First one is at the top. Be careful not to pinch any wires or image bundle if it is a fiber scope. Carefully retain each screw for reassembly. Second screw is along the side, lower left side. Remove the Phillips screw and retain. The last screw, you'll need to insert your Phillips screwdriver through the slot straight down in order to gain access to the Phillips screw, which is located directly below the slot which is cut into your control plate. Carefully unscrew and retain screw. If they fall into body, you will need to turn scope upside down carefully in order to retain screw. Now, being extremely careful, remove the 3-leg bracket from your body control section. If this is a fiber scope, it will be very critical that you do not trap, pinch, or crush your image bundle, which would run directly underneath this bracket. Carefully slide bracket out and away from your bundled wires and suction channel. We now have access to the suction channel, which we will need to cut off and remove from your suction channel assembly. Using a pair of very sharp X-Acto knife, cut the glue from around the suction channel. Being careful not to cut into any other tubes, CCD wires, or channels. Once you have completely removed the glue from all the way around the suction channel, again, it may be necessary to push the other channels out of the way in order to access the glue from around your suction channel port chamber. Remove all the glue. Cut a slot in your suction channel and remove from your suction channel port assembly. We will now pull our suction channel from inside our umbilical control section in order to pull through our old damaged light guide bundles and pull in our new light guide bundles without causing damage to them, because it is too tight of a fit inside the internal structure of the light guide tube. Turn the scope around at a 90-degree angle so we can safely remove our suction channel and our old light guide and pull in our new light guides. Lay the light guide umbilical tube flat and straight along your working area all the way down to your connector. Moving down to light guide probe connector assembly. You'll need to remove the cone from your light guide connector assembly in order to gain access to our suction channel and our light guides, which run through the umbilical control section, through our connector, and to the light guide probe end. First step is to unscrew a light guide probe sleeve counterclockwise. Remove the sleeve completely to expose our old damaged light guide proximal fitting. Remove light guide proximal sleeve. From the light guide connector body section, there are 3 stainless steel screws. Remove these screws and retain for reassembly. Being extremely careful, rock your video connector back and forth and carefully pull and lift out without pinching or cutting any of the CCD wires. Do not touch any of the pins internally in the connector because static may damage the CCD assembly. Pull your CCD connector to one side. You'll need to carefully slide out the copper retaining plate, which is internal inside the Olympus video connector. If this is a fiber scope, please disregard. Pull out your copper retaining plate and retain for reassembly. Inside is where the light guide illumination bundle rests. Now we can unscrew our umbilical cone from the connector assembly counterclockwise. If it is too tight, you may need to use your dull tweezers with some alcohol, sliding tweezers underneath cone and applying alcohol in and around end of cone. This will allow alcohol to lubricate the cone and to allow it to slide down and safely across umbilical cord. Using Phillips screwdriver, remove 3 screws which hold the connector assembly to your umbilical light guide tube. It is advisable to make a mark with either your Phillips screwdriver or an etching tool in order to reassemble back in the same position so that the connector is not twisted the wrong way. Again, make a small mark, scratching both the connector body and the light guide tube so we can orient this upon reassembly. Once the 3 screws are removed, we can carefully pull out our light guide tube from the connector assembly. Utilizing a pair of needle nose pliers, carefully unscrew counterclockwise the suction channel retaining ferrules. Once they are loosened, you can remove with your fingers. Also pull off your suction channel from your suction channel fitting. Retain the ferrules for reassembly. There are two pieces, an external piece and your internal ferrule. We can now slide out our suction tube from our umbilical section in order to remove our light guides and replace them with new ones. Remove the suction channel completely. Discard the suction channel. You need to replace it with a new one. Since we have cut it in the body section, it will be no longer useful and will need to be replaced with a new suction channel. We can now remove our damaged old light guide bundle, which was resting up against the side of this video connector. If this was a fiberscope, it would just pull out directly through the connector. Pull your light guide through. We'll need to attach another plastic tube on this light guide proximal fitting in order to pull through our light guide umbilical tube, in order to pull through our new light guide illumination bundle assembly. Attach your larger plastic tubing over your light guide illumination bundle. You can actually use your old suction channel in order to fit over your light guide illumination bundle to pull through, so you can pull back through your new illumination light guide bundle. Going back to our control section, we will now pull through our old damaged light guide bundle. Lay the endoscope in again in a 90-degree angle so we can pull through our light guide bundles, making sure our light guide tube is straight along your working area. Pull through the old damaged light guide bundle along with your plastic tubing. Once you have pulled through your old damaged light guide bundle, remove it from your clear plastic tubing. We can now discard our old light guide illumination bundle. We will need to replace it with an exact manufacturer specification illumination light guide bundle. Being sure to check the model number of the instrument and purchasing the same exact model number for the Olympus instrument you are repairing. Obtaining your new light guide illumination bundle, we will now reverse the process and reassemble Endoscope with a brand new illumination light guide bundle. Attach your new light guide bundle to your clear plastic tubing, which is oversized to fit over your light guide illumination bundle, and we'll now pass it back through the Endoscope light guide umbilical cord section. Go back down to your connector section of the Olympus scope. We'll now pull through our brand new illumination light bundle. Be extremely cautious. This is a brand new illumination light bundle and you do not want to damage it. You can easily break the light guide fiber bundle by applying excess force against the light guide illumination bundle. By pulling it too hard, you will cause damage to it, so be extremely careful while pulling through your new light guide bundle. Pull through the length necessary through your light guide bundle to retrieve the proximal fitting of your light guide bundle. Once you have fed through your light guide bundle, you want to pull enough slack so it will be long enough to reach the exact proximal fitting of the light guide connector, which will be at least 1 inch longer to allow for the length to fit into the sleeve of your light guide bundle and light guide probe. Remove your clear plastic tubing. We will now feed our light guide through our Olympus endoscope connector, in this case a video endoscope. There is an opening inside the connector which allows you to pass through your Illumination light guide bundle until you can see it feed through your electronic video connector. Carefully pull through light guide bundle into video connector. Sliding your light guide bundle along the connector wall, there is another opening which allows you to feed through your light guide bundle so it will fit into your light guide probe. Do not force the light guide in any way, otherwise you will cause damage again to the fiber bundle. Push through your new light guide until the probe allows for the proximal fitting of your light guide to fit through. Once the proximal fitting of your new light guide bundle has appeared from out of the light guide probe, you now need to retrieve your proximal end fitting and your proximal sleeve. We will need to clean both the sleeve and the proximal fitting to allow for proper light transmission. Using tissue paper, preferably lens paper, wrapped around a toothpick and some alcohol, clean first your brand new light guide probe proximal fitting to remove any debris from tip. Second, clean out your proximal fitting. Any debris that has lodged inside the lens shaft must be removed. If necessary, use force air, compressed air. Once the proximal end is fit through, use some black RTV sealant around the threads of your proximal fitting of your new light guide bundle. Put a thin coat around the threads. Retrieve proximal end shaft, and as long as it is clean internally, slide over and screw on clockwise, holding it with a pair of tweezers. Do not let it spin within the shaft. Tighten down and slide proximal fitting to fit inside groove slot. Using a small paintbrush, apply some white lithium grease around the O-ring, removing any debris that may cause an air leak. Carefully slide back on your light guide probe sleeve, being sure that it isn't clean internally with no debris. Sliding it up and over while holding it on, allowing the grooves to fit and for end piece to screw on flush to your proximal fitting. If it does not, it means that the grooves are not lining up on your new light guide bundle. With your light guide probe sealed properly, you will now need to push our new light guide bundle up against our connector wall, in this case Olympus Video Endoscope GIF 100. Push your light guide up against the wall, retrieve your copper plate, slide plate over light guide bundle, and be extremely careful not to pinch or crush your light guide bundle as you're pushing down this plate, otherwise you will cause severe damage to your new light guide bundle. The copper plate fits in only one fashion, so be careful when pushing down as not to crush or pinch your new light guide bundle. Retrieve your electronic video connector and align your holes of your video connector using a small paintbrush with white lithium grease. Carefully coat the O-ring which seals the electronic video connector. With the 3 holes aligned, push down and seal in your video connector. Retrieve the 3 stainless steel screws which hold in your video connector and tighten down. Be sure when you are pushing down this video connector that you do not also pinch your O-ring. This will cause a massive air leak seal in your video connector.